Hi, and welcome to the locker room. I'm one of your hosts, Justin Ham, and thank you so much for joining us as we journey through tough issues that guys face as athletes and as humans. We have a special guest today. He's been on the podcast before, but let's welcome back our guest, Gavin Hill, as he is here today to help us navigate the questions of guys, God, and does it matter? So, for those of you who have been listening to this for a little while now, you might have heard the first episode we did with Gavin. Oh, I'd say probably over a year ago now. And in the meantime, Gavin has, joined FCA staff, but he's been launching something that we're really excited to talk about today. So, Gavin, without putting you on the spot too much, just share with us a little bit about what you got going on out there in Rochester.
Yes, for sure. Thank you, Justin, for having me on the podcast again. Super excited
Of
to talk
course.
about FCA Rochester Running. So it had been a dream of mine for a while, and I'll get more into the backstory eventually to have a Christian running group that can promote faith and running at the same time.
Hmm.
I had a lot of great experiences with that in college, so that kind of helped with the vision. But FCA Rochester Running, right now we are a men's group and we meet Saturday mornings. We'd have a short devotional. We spend some time in prayer, sharing a quest with each other, and then we go for a run together. Kind of based on what level we're at, depends on what distance we go, and try to incorporate a closing question from our devotional into that run as well. And afterward, we'll maybe spend some time stretching and fellowshipping, and then we're off for the rest of our Saturday.
That's amazing. Well, I have a ton of questions as a non-runner. I love to work out, but I'm more of a lift, wait 5 minutes, and then lift again kind of guy. So cardio is something that I need to do more of. So maybe I should make other trek out to Rochester here soon. But what made you decide this is something that you wanted to do?
Yeah, that's perfect. So it leads right into the backstory of where this all came from. When I first joined staff, I really wanted nothing to do with running after
Mm.
having quit it in college. Just all that pain associated with it. I was like, this isn't for me. And I was able to have some needed time with the Lord when my first day actually to work. And I had to surrender that to God as He made it very clear. He's like, I want you in the running space, and you're being like Jonah right now, and you're going the complete opposite direction. And I had a lot more peace once I just said, okay, this is where the Lord wants me. This is how I want to use this. And it was a year-long dream to get the running group started. Part of it was just getting busy with other ministries. Part of it was not really knowing where to go. Another part of it was, is my body healthy enough to even lead something like this? I'm gonna need some people around me. And there was this grace period where it seems where I was healthy enough to be running, to be training consistently and seeing a lot of progress. And that gave me the encouragement that I needed to dive into this. So I ran an alumni race at my college. I ran another race at my college, and I said, "All right, like let's let's do this. Let's make a running huddle."
Mm.
And shared it with the group chat of all these Roberts alumni runners. I was like, "This is the idea. It's gonna be called FCA Rochester Running. Saturday mornings, devotional prayer. We can
Mm.
have fellowship." And I got zero interest. And so at first I was like, well, that's a letdown. I don't know what to do now. And God took it a different direction. I had one great friend, Evan, who's solid in his faith, solid in running. We went to a young adult conference in our area, and we were broken up in small groups. And in our small group happened to be a dude who went to Houghton, who had just graduated from there, and was a cross country and track runner. So we talked to him about the group. He absolutely loved it. So the three of us, we started it. We met on a Saturday morning, ran the plan, and from there it's really just kicked off and came in numbers. And the whole purpose, the whole mission behind it is growing growing character, or I have it set up in three F's: faith, fellowship, and fitness is the
Mm.
idea. And for those who maybe aren't Christian, really emphasize that character aspect while not
Sure.
shying away from Christ either.
Yeah, man. That's so cool. What is it about running that is, you said, I mean, if you, shameless plug for the first podcast, if you haven't heard Gavin's story yet and you're hearing this one for the first time, it's worth looking back on that because he does a great job of sharing from his journey of how running kind of influenced him and kind of shaped him into who he is. But kind of in that same lane, like what is it about running that made you want to build a huddle around that?
Yeah. It's gonna be a weird comparison that maybe some people understand. Um, I don't know, given our audience, maybe a lot of people won't understand it. Um, but I watched this YouTube video, and it was talking about it's actually a Catholic podcaster, YouTuber. I don't remember his name, and he was being interviewed because this Catholic influencer is a really avid cigar smoker,
Okay.
and the person interviewing him asked, like, what is it about cigars? How do you even put cigars and your Catholic faith, hand in hand? And he said, the thing I love about cigars is that you know that you're gonna be there for about 2 hours. And when you're in a cigar lounge, it's you and whoever else in that room for 2 hours, undistracted, and you get to have a lot of conversations. And that is exactly what running is in, I think, a way healthier way. Um,
Sure.
it's not you and a cigar for 2 hours with these other people, but it's you, the road, and whoever else is with you for, 3 miles, 5 miles, 8 miles, however long you go.
Mm.
Undistracted. You don't have phones out there, and if you're with people, you don't put in earbuds. It's just you and that person, and most people don't understand this if they're not runners, but we do like to talk on our runs. It would get very awkward, very weird if it was just silence for the next hour. Uh, so you get to have so many conversations, and as you suffer through a trial together, that
Mm.
just naturally brings you so much closer too. You get to understand this person on a deeper level, and it's not like I dove into your life story yet, but because we suffered together, we've just become a little bit more vulnerable and are able to have even deeper discussions.
No, that makes sense. And I think, again, I love that comparison. And to kind of take it to another level, like I have another probably weird comparison, but here we go. So I have a friend of mine, a mentor of mine who I kind of have lost touch with, but he was a person who got he was in a car crash and he ended up losing the use of his legs. And he's in a wheelchair and he got this massive upper body, he's super strong. But one day we were talking, I remember we were talking about connection. And he was telling me, he's like, you and me are connected. He's like, I've known you, I'm getting to know you, I'm in your life, we're friends. He's like, but if I meet somebody else who's in a wheelchair, he's like, there's just a mutual understanding that I don't even know that person, but there's some commonality now that I have with him in a more intimate way than I'll ever have with you. That doesn't mean that our relationships any exist, but I know that part of it differently. So I'm thinking and hearing you say this, it's like if someone's a runner or if someone's been through like a super tough practice, that struggle I think is absolutely something that if you endure together, you're connected in a way that someone who hasn't been through it or someone who hasn't experienced it can't understand.
Yeah.
And, if I were to go run 8 miles, I would probably cough more than the guy smoking the cigar for 2 hours. But the point is that I love that because it kind of takes down the walls, right? And that's just the beauty of what FCA can do. We meet people where they are, and we get to use sports to share Jesus. But we're sharing Jesus anyway, and we just get to do it for our vocational job. But we should be doing that anyway as Christians. So maybe I know I kind of rambled, but speak a little bit to the fact that what is that suffering together? How does that tie you guys probably closer?
Mm, man. I see, I've gotten to see this the most when it comes to running a race together, more than the practice for sure.
Mm,
Not that the practice doesn't hit on that same note, but running a race together, um, that's when that really flourishes and comes out. And it doesn't matter what level you're at when you're running a race with other people, but that creates a bond because there's a common purpose to start. And I think about Paul in I think it's First Corinthians 9. I always mix up which Corinthians it was, but I'm pretty confident it's First Corinthians 9, where he talks about how he runs the race, and
Yeah.
the race has a finish. It has a place that you're going. Each of you have a goal to reach the finish. Maybe you have individual goals to hit that pace, but you're all on that goal. If you're on an actual team with that person, you obviously have a goal to do well as a team. And what I find with runners is all of us know like this hurts. We don't have to
Mhm.
do this, but we're doing it anyways because we want to hit the goal. You just want everyone to win at this point. And no, this is something that I can definitely touch on more, but this is where I started seeing the redefining of what running is,
Yeah.
where in college, running is how fast can I go? What's the limits that my body can
Mm.
push? Now that's not a question anymore. I'm just happy if my body can run the full 5K.
Right.
Um, Before it was like, can I go sub 16? Can I go sub 17? Whatever it was. Um, And so I was able to have an experience in a race where I realized like I'm not running my best time today. But there's this woman who pushed me to get to this point. I ran shoulder to shoulder with her, never met her before. But she was a little bit faster than me. I'm like, I can hang on. So I hung on with her. And by the last half mile, like I felt good again. I wasn't drained anymore. I could have taken off. I could have had a better time than I did. But at that moment, I'm like, I'm here to glorify God. I'm here to
Mm.
help others. It's not about me. I'm gonna push this woman just a little bit, stay just enough in front of her so that she can run a good time as well. So it's that common goal in that suffering that I think is what brings people together. We know that we're suffering for the same purpose.
Yeah, man. And just in hearing that, like I have like so many different directions I can go in, but there's this one spot I think I am going to go. So I think what you just laid out was kind of a beautiful picture of what discipleship actually is. So a lot of times, it's especially in Christianity, there's a tendency to we gotta you don't really think about it this way, but it's this idea of you gotta look a certain way. You gotta, for lack of a better word, you gotta win. Like, well, so what does
Yeah.
winning look like? So first of all, you're redefining what winning actually is. And I love how you said it's just finishing. And the second part of that is you found yourself running with somebody who's a little bit faster than you, maybe a little bit better than you, a little bit further ahead in their running journey than you. But that's exactly what discipleship is. Like, we should be latching on to people who are further ahead because they'll help push us. Yet at the same time, we're helping them as well. So it's that mutual pressing on, as Paul said in one of the Corinthians, as you mentioned. But
Mhm.
it's that idea of, redefining what success is. What do you think? What would your younger self say if he were to hear you say that, it doesn't matter how fast you go, it's about our finishing? What do you think your younger self would say? And what is wisdom in this time? How would wisdom respond? So it's kind of a two-part question. It's kind of imaginary, but what would 20-year-old Gavin say, and how would you respond to 20-year-old Gavin if he heard you say it's not about how fast you go?
Yeah. Man, even going farther back, like take Gavin at different stages of life,
Sure.
talk to 16-year-old Gavin. Man, it's like it's about what name I can make for myself. I'm not here for anyone else. I'm here for what can I accomplish? Can I get that school record? Can I
Mm.
get that big scholarship? Um, I would think I'm pretty insane for ever saying that. Um, 20-year-old Gavin would be like, you'll
Well, in
never be
fairness,
that.
you were a D2 runner at a high
Yes.
level, so you were pretty good.
Yes.
We got to
20-year-old
say that.
Gavin would say, you're never going to be in that shape. You're telling me that one day you're going to run a 20-minute 5K and call that good?
Right.
Um, and so it wouldn't even cross my mind that I wouldn't be pushing for a personal record. Um, and then reality hits you hard after college, either whether you get injured or not. No matter who it is, there's a rare amount of people that run at the level that they're running in college. Um, and everyone, just about everyone who I've talked to, because there are those few who keep that same level of training. Just about everyone that I talk to, they struggle mentally with the fact that I used to run a 16:35K and now I'm breathing hard running a 20:30. And it's just this weird, maybe like disappointment in yourself or whatever it might be. Um, Now what does wisdom say in this? I think we have to ask ourselves like who's the glory for?
Mm.
Um, so that same day when we ran that race, I was feeling hyped. Like I was feeling good about myself. I was getting back some better shape. I ran like just before that, I ran a 5K and I ran what I call my retirement PR of 19, it was like 1930, 1940 something.
Wow.
Before that, my retirement PR was 20 flat. So I was feeling good. And so I'm talking to one of the other guys. I'm like, man, like, what do you think you're gonna do? He's like, I think I'm gonna go out in 5K and 20. And we were running a 10K. Um, then we're gonna go run 20-minute 5K and then see what the second half does. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm with you. Um, and then Evan came up, my other friend. He's like, I thought you guys were taking it easy. I was like, yeah, but then I realized I want to make a name for myself today. And someone like kind of jokingly, but also seriously said, like, aren't we here for God's glory, not our own?
Mm.
And I was like, huh. I was told the day before this race to run for God's glory, not my own glory.
Mm.
And then I hit that race. I go for a 20-minute 5K. I tell my other guy, I'm like, dude, I'm not keeping this pace up. I'm about to drop off pace really big right now. And he's like, yeah, I'm the same way. So he dropped off less than I did. And then I was going through it really hard. And then that woman came up beside me and just gave me an
Sure.
encouraging word. And then she was slightly faster. And then I ran with her. And then that's when that epiphany hit of like, this is how I can run for God's glory. If I'm in a
Yeah.
race, who can I encourage? Who can I run beside and help them achieve something greater and instead of my own time? So whose
Yeah.
glory is it
Yeah.
about? That's what wisdom says.
Yeah. And just in hearing you say that too, it kind of, the idea of success or winning, like it didn't necessarily change. It's really just how you perceive that. So that's the thing that changed. Like running is just a thing, right? Like running it is what it is. People can run it fast, people can run slow, but it's not alive. It doesn't have any kind of bearing on anything. It's just a thing. But however, it's how we perceive that that could really impact ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Um, but the idea that, as you were just saying, like, how can you run for God's glory is looking for ways to pour into other people. And that idea of that shared suffering, that shared striving, that same just getting to the end. And there's so many people I think in life who are kind of running, for lack of like a analogy, right? Who are just running through the motions, who are just going through day to day. And I kind of envision them as like they're kind of, they're either running too hard or they're not pacing themselves or they're literally, to keep the analogy going, like they're not running well. So what is it about the idea of getting outside of yourself in a race? How does that translate to getting outside of yourself in life to help run alongside people to help them get to where they're trying to go?
Mm. No, that's really good. So that really ties to what the Lord has been teaching me as I walk through the book of Philippians right now.
Mhm.
And it's cool now as you ask that question, seeing how running and our spiritual walk, our life is very much the same.
Yeah.
So there's the verse in the book of Philippians. It's Philippians 1:21, I believe, where it says to live as Christ and to die as gain. And oftentimes, well, I'd say just about everyone stops with that verse. We quote it easily, we say it easily, we understand the meaning, but I don't know how many of us understand the full context. It's one of those verses where it's like read three verses later and see what Paul really means by this. And Paul's talking about how to live as Christ is to um, be in service to others in a Christ-like manner on earth, and to
Right.
die as gain is being with Christ face to face. And he says afterward, he's like, hey, it would be so much more enjoyable to be with Christ face to face. I can't
Yeah.
imagine anything better than that. That's what I want really bad. But I'm stuck in this decision. Do I chase after what I want, which is to be with Christ, or do I chase after what's better for others, which is to be Christ here on earth?
Mm.
And he says to the Philippians, he says, but it's for your benefit that I stay. So that is what I'm going to do. And we see Paul take this total surrender where he says, I'm not going to live for my own desires in any way. I'm only going to live for what's going to benefit the other person.
Mm, that's so good. And that's so countercultural to what we see in society today.
Yeah.
It's what can I get? How can I, how can I benefit the most from this situation? I don't care if I have to railroad my friends or family. Like, how can I come out ahead?
Yeah.
And it's almost the counter, the literally exact opposite. It's countercultural to say, what can I do? How can I serve? How do you find yourself as you, or maybe this way, let's ask it this way. If someone were listening to this and it's just like, this doesn't make any sense, like, how would you explain it? Like that idea to someone who's never grasped the idea of servant leadership or self-emptying of yourself or, you know, other people's benefit before you. How would you describe that to somebody who's just like, well, how do I win then?
Mm. I think it starts by realizing that the ways world of winning never achieves anything. There isn't a win. You can't win. You can't finish. I was just looking at this proverb the other day. Don't even know exactly where it is in the book of Proverbs, but it might be Proverbs chapter 6, but I could be totally wrong. There's this proverb where it talks about chasing after money, chasing after greed. And the summary of what it says is when you seek after money, it's like money grows wings and flies up towards the sky. And it puts in the picture that there's never a win when it comes to chasing money. You're always chasing. You're always striving. You're always trying to get something. You always want more. And that desire for more always leaves us empty because we never accomplished it. Um, Same within the space of running. Again, it's like fast is never fast enough. You can always go faster. You're happy that you hit, a 4:30 mile, but you know you can do a 4:15. So you're not truly happy. And if your joy comes from accomplishment in that, you're never gonna have joy. So I say it starts by understanding that chasing something for our own gain never has a finish because there's always more. And so once we understand that, chasing our own desires always leaves us wanting more, well, where's the fulfillment then? Where can I find true joy? Um, it's one of those things that you really have to experience, for sure. You have to experience the fact that you're gonna find joy in someone else's accomplishment. It makes no sense to anyone outside the perspective of Christ. C.S. Lewis, he mentioned in his book Mere Christianity, he says the one sin or one vice that I never hear a non-Christian say that they struggle with is pride because we just can't see pride apart from Christ. Um, and so now that we're talking about, hey, you're gonna get your joy from self-sacrifice and from seeking the betterment of someone else, that's something you can't understand until you just experience it. It starts by saying, take time to understand who is Jesus, what are his principles, and then now actually put into practice and see how running for that person to run their best time versus you running your best time changes everything. See how that
Yeah,
joy changes. So it's an experience thing for sure.
I like that idea. And it's true. Like, it's hard to understand all that the Lord can do until you experience it for yourself. And a lot of times people are resistant to let go of their pride so that they can experience the things that Jesus has for them because they don't want to let go. I mean, I think of that we just got a puppy and I can remember there's this cartoon. It was like a drawing and it was this little girl who had this stuffed animal dog and it was like her most precious thing in the world and the artist was she drew a picture of the father like standing in front of her with a puppy behind his back that she couldn't see. And, this was the most important prized possession in her life. But if she let go of that and gave it to him, he was going to give her a real dog. And the caption was along the lines of, what are we holding on to? What are we afraid of letting go of for something that could be better? And it makes me think of that idea of the experiencing it. Like, if I can't experience true joy, whether it's in running, which it would be hard for me to find joy in running, but maybe someone listening this could be. So we'll take the running specific part aside for a minute, but it's hard to experience true joy if you're fixed on yourself and you're unable to get outside of yourself because that human nature is self-preservation. Human
Yeah.
nature is what can I get as fast as I can, as much as I can, and I don't want to share it. That's what the world says, that's what culture says. So to experience that would be life-changing, but it's not
Yeah.
something that people are willing to necessarily choose.
Yeah.
So outside of running, back to maybe ministry or maybe to everyday life, how can we as Christians, how can we as people who have that joy, who know what the truth is, how can we get past the idea of that pride? And how can we then share that joy by letting go and putting others before us?
Mhm. Um, well, it starts with recognizing that this is insanely difficult to do. Um, it's it's how do I really surrender everything to the Lord? Even have the answer to that, honestly. And it's something that God's teaching me right now this year of what does it mean to surrender? Um, it takes awareness, that's for sure, in every situation.
Hmm.
It takes careful prayer and reflection, um, awareness of your own emotions, awareness of your own thoughts, reshaping how an experience went. I had a dinner recently where the person I met with, I think they asked me two questions about my life to maybe my eight, nine, or 10 questions about their life. Um, Maybe that's just how it felt. I know
Sure.
maybe those numbers are a little inaccurate, but I walked away from that like, man, like I'm pretty discontent from that. I'm kind of frustrated. Like they didn't ask me anything. And I had to think about those emotions, reflect, and reshape them. And say like, actually, that was a really successful dinner because I really got to know them more. I actually don't know where exactly they are in their faith walk. Maybe they need consistent encouragement. This is a place where I can disciple this person. It's not about what can I get from this person, but what can I give to this person. Um, and that's actually that might be a good basis of surrender when it comes to our everyday in every situation. Always be asking, what can I give, not what can I get? And Timothy Keller walks through that of what is the true definition of love. And that's how I always summarize what Timothy Keller said. And when we take that into every conversation, every activity we do, into our jobs, that's when we find that we're living for other people and not ourselves anymore. And that takes careful discernment sometimes because you do have to um, say no to things in order to give
Mhm.
better.
Yeah.
I if I were to say yes to, or actually, uh, if you were to say yes to everything, you would never be able to give to your family because you would book up your time. So it's like, okay, what's most important that God's put before me to give to as well? And so we always got to be careful with that and that mindset, is we don't overly give so that we're left useless to those priorities that the Lord has instructed us to be the most careful with managing.
Yeah, dude, that's so good. That's so good. What can I give instead of what can I get? And that is a tough concept. And but that I would imagine then begins to reframe how you start to look at everything,
Yeah.
whether it's at a dinner, whether it's when you're running, whether it's when you're doing FCA, whether you're ministering, whether you're interacting with the people in your life that you care about. How is that, and this will be the last kind of question, we'll see where it goes, but how have you seen that concept of shifting your focus from what can I get instead of what can I get to what can I give? How have you seen fruit come from that?
Oh, yeah. Um,
And maybe it's the running club. Maybe this running
yeah.
huddle is something that's sprouted from that.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I'd say I kind of mentioned it already, but it's a joy aspect.
Yeah.
It changes everything when it comes to your joy. Uh, I put every fruit of the spirit in there, honestly. your love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, all of those start transforming when you start living in a give aspect. But I really can't emphasize the joy more than anything. Because again, when we live in getting, we get frustrated, we grow discontent, we grow impatient, narcissistic, and that hurts relationships, and that renders us ineffective as Christians. The Lord has promised us abundant joy, and I don't know anyone in this world who doesn't want that. If you say, I have the key, I have the secret to abundant joy in your life, I would be taking out the notepad and say, please tell me more.
Yeah,
And
man.
it's this absolute giving up of yourself. And I just find myself smiling more and more the more I give things.
Yeah.
As I give opportunities for others to lead this running group, I find so much joy in that. As I find opportunities to give of my finances, I find so much more joy in that. Give of my time, so much more joy in that. So it's that joy that just is so unsurpassable,
Hmm.
that changes everything, and that'll affect all of your relationships. That'll affect how people perceive you. That'll affect their witness.
Yeah.
That change of joy can really be life-changing in every fruit of the spirit.
So you made me think of one more question. So
Yeah.
I was incorrect. So try to, if you can, and this is a tough question because I've had this conversation with my wife. I've had this conversation with many people. What's the difference between joy and happiness?
Oh, yeah. That's kind of a little question.
I know.
So
In your opinion, without any
yeah,
kind of, just in your thoughts, right? Because we hear that, and I think human nature is like, oh, if I'm happy, I'm smiling. But it's like there's a difference between being happy and being full of joy.
yeah,
What do you think about it?
yeah. Uh, so I'll start with the definition of what I'd say is happy. Happy is an emotion that stems from a reaction to an event.
Mm.
Um, I was given $1 million, I wish, and that'd make me really happy. But happiness fades,
Yeah.
and it doesn't last. Um, Joy, that is this almost like exuberance, this excitement. Maybe it doesn't come out that way, but just an inner contentment that doesn't shift, that doesn't change. And I was reflecting on this the other day in Psalms about how about giving thanks to the Lord for his mercy endures forever. Um, and I can't remember if it was rejoice or give thanks, one of those two, but just think about that in aspect of joy, where it's like it doesn't say like I'm gonna be joyful when my circumstances are great. Um, Joy is not a reaction to the events around you. Joy is a firm disposition of the heart and who God is in our lives. So that I know when I am serving others, God will make sure to take care of me. And I don't have to live in that self-preservation that we talked about earlier,
Hmm.
because the Lord's my preservation. So I get to have this total abundance, just exuberance, ecstaticness, contentment about giving, 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 because I just get to see the Lord work in their lives, and that's a good enough reward for me. And the Lord will make sure to take care of my needs from there. So it doesn't matter about my circumstances at all. It matters just about who God is, and that's where joy changes from happiness.
Yeah, I love that answer, and that's a thoughtful answer, and a very loaded question. But I think the another, well, how I've kind of been coming to is it's like when your happiness, like you said, something that fades. But so it's what you're fixing on. Happiness fixes on me, joy fixes on Jesus.
Yeah.
So it's like my happiness if it benefits me, if it benefits, how, like $1 million, or we just won a game, or we just got a PR, like that's happy because it's about something I did. And maybe
Hmm.
joy is fixing on the root of something coming from the Lord instead of from us. So
Yeah, definitely.
I love that, man. Well, Gavin, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming and sitting down with us today. Is there any other thoughts, any last things you want to share, any links you want to have people check out or Instagram? I don't know. Does your running club have an Instagram page?
Yeah, so we do have an Instagram page. It's not as active as I'd like it to be right now, but
Sure.
definitely growth. But it's FCA Rochester Running is our Instagram page, and
Okay.
things to be looking on the horizon for when it comes to this club. But this is something that anyone who's listening is interested in. Um, we are adding a women's group very soon. We're looking at possibly around March right now, and that's I won't say the name yet. I'll let that just be announced on the Instagram page.
Sure.
But women's group is coming.
Love it.
We're gonna create a men's specific name as well, and at that page, FCA Rochester Running. Once both are growing and thriving, you'll be able to see updates from both sides of things. The other thing is that people can be on the lookout for is if you are in local Rochester road races, you might see us sporting the FCA uniforms. We just bought those. We're gonna be representing Christ out in the races. Have the cross on
Love
our
it.
jerseys. We're
Let's
gonna be
go.
bringing the four bracelets with us. We're gonna be telling, hopefully, just handing those out, sharing who Jesus is, inviting more people into the group. If you're not Christian and you're like, hey, I don't know about that whole faith aspect. Well, we definitely want to grow in character too, and grow in just a wholesome atmosphere.
Mm,
In a world in which the atmosphere has changed a lot, and it seems like there is nothing wholesome or pure anymore. This is a place where we want to center on being wholesome and pure. So we have a running atmosphere, a running group atmosphere expectations that's outline how we conduct ourselves as moral, wholesome, good people. And I had someone who is not a follower of Jesus, and he said, "Hey, we need more of this."
amen.
So this is a place where you can grow in that too. And that's about what people can expect on the horizon. So FCA Rochester Running is the Instagram page.
And we will drop that handle in the description so you folks can follow that and keep an eye on all the stuff that Gavin and his team are doing out there. So again, Gavin, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. This episode drops every Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that. And we will see you next time, Gavin. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.